The cafe smelled like warm bread and coffee that had been sitting too long. It was the kind of place people chose when they wanted a conversation to look casual, even if it was. Outside, the morning was bright. Inside, everything felt slightly too loud. Plates clinking, chairs scraping, a child laughing too sharply across the room. Jessica arrived 5 minutes late, swept in like she was being expected, like the room belonged to her and the rest of us were props. She hugged me with one arm and a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sorry," she said, not sounding sorry. "Wedding stuff." That was her favorite phrase lately, the one that excused anything. The way someone might say emergency, even when nothing was actually on fire. She slid into the seat across from me, put her phone face up on the table like it was a third person, and immediately started talking. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask about my work. She didn't ask anything that suggested I was a full person separate from her event. Instead, she said, "Okay, so, I've been thinking about the photography." I had offered weeks earlier, not because I needed the money, not because I wanted a spotlight. I offered because she was my friend, because I knew what mattered in the years after a wedding, and because I had watched too many people regret the parts they thought didn't matter. I had said it gently, casually, even. Like I wasn't handing her something valuable. Like I wasn't trying to make it easy for her to accept. Now she lifted her chin and spoke like she was ending a negotiation. "I really do appreciate the offer," she said, "but I need a real professional for my wedding." The words were clean, polite, sharp at the edge. There was a beat where I waited for her to soften it, to catch herself, to say, "I mean, you are a professional," to laugh and correct it like it was a joke that came out wrong. She didn't. "This day is important," she continued, as if I was slow. "I can't take risks. I need someone who does this full time, not someone who just does photography on the side." Her voice carried that specific confidence some people get when they believe honesty gives them permission to be cruel. She wrapped her insult in a tone that suggested I should be grateful she was being straight with me. "No offense," she added quickly, like a bandage thrown at a wound she had no intention of healing. My throat tightened. I swallowed anyway. What I felt wasn't just anger. It was something colder. It was the sudden sense of being revealed, like I had been standing next to her all these years, and she had only ever glanced in my direction, never actually looked. You can survive strangers underestimating you. It stings, but it doesn't confuse you. When it's your best friend, it rearranges your internal world. I didn't speak right away. I could have listed my published work. I could have mentioned the gallery show last year. I could have reminded her of the corporate client that flew me across the country because they trusted my eye. I could have said calmly, "Jessica, I am a professional." But something stopped me, not pride, not fear. It was the way she said it. Like the verdict had already been decided, and my response was irrelevant. Before I could reply, she grabbed her phone, excited now that she delivered the dismissal. "Let me show you who we hired," she said. "This guy is incredible." She scrolled, tapped, turned the screen toward me. The portfolio was fine, technically sound, bright, clear, symmetrical. Every smile looked identical. Every pose felt rehearsed. It was the kind of wedding photography that filled up websites and left no lingering emotion. The kind that made people look perfect and made the day look like an advertisement. It wasn't bad. It just didn't feel like anything. "That's great," I said, because the truth would have started a war and she was already holding the match. Jessica smiled, relieved, as if she'd passed a difficult test and now the mood could return to lightness. "See," she said, "this is what I mean by professional." I nodded. My hands stayed folded in my lap. I stared at the screen for a second longer than necessary, not because I was impressed, but because I was thinking. I was thinking about how we met, and how easily some people trap you in the version of yourself they first learned. I was thinking about the way she had always spoken about my work like it was cute, like it was a personality trait. I remembered a holiday party years earlier, when someone asked what I did. I started to explain, and Jessica interrupted with a laugh. Oh, she's always taking pictures. She's obsessed. It's her little thing. Little thing. She said it warmly then, like a compliment, and I'd let it slide because friendships can survive small ignorance. But small ignorance has a way of stacking over time until it's no longer small. What matters to me, she continued now, still scrolling, is that I don't want awkward moments. I want it to look classy. Classy, like I would somehow make her wedding look cheap, like my work would embarrass her. I tasted blood where I'd bitten the inside of my cheek. I smiled anyway. I always did. Not because I was weak, because I had learned that confronting someone who doesn't respect you rarely changes anything. It just gives them a new story where you're dramatic and they're the victim. So I swallowed it. The invitation arrived a week later. Thick paper, embossed letters, everything about it designed to signal importance. There was a note in Jessica's handwriting, curved and pretty. So excited you get to be a guest for once. No working, just celebrate with us. I stared at that line, especially the part about for once, like she was reminding me of my place. A guest, not a contributor, not someone whose work had value. Someone who should just show up, smile, clap at the right times, and stop trying to be something she didn't recognize. I almost didn't go. That's the truth. I held the invitation in my hands and felt the temptation to protect myself. But then another part of me spoke. The part that remembered college nights, the part that remembered her holding my hair back when I got sick, the part that remembered the shared language of "we'll always be there." That part said, "Go because you are not her. Go because your character doesn't depend on hers." So I RSVP'd yes. The day of the wedding, I arrived early. The venue was a restored mansion with manicured gardens, a place that looked like it had been designed to be photographed. The air smelled like roses and money. White flowers everywhere, arranged so perfectly they looked unreal. Guests in carefully selected tones, everything curated. Jessica looked stunning, of course. Not because of the dress, though it was expensive, but because she was the kind of person who could step into a role and become it completely. Bride, star, center of the universe. She hugged me in the hallway and whispered, "No camera business today," like it was a joke. I laughed softly. "I'm here for you." She pulled back and searched my face, measuring the sincerity. Then she nodded, satisfied, and moved on to the next person who needed her attention. The photographer was impossible to miss. Derek. I learned his name because he introduced himself loudly to everyone like his presence was part of the entertainment. He carried himself with aggressive confidence, like he believed volume and authority were the same thing. He directed people with sharp gestures, corrected posture, told bridesmaids to fix their faces, and treated the wedding like a film set. I watched him in silence, the professional part of my brain recording everything. He was efficient, he knew lighting, he knew angles, but he didn't know people. He didn't know how to disappear so a moment could breathe. He didn't know that weddings are emotional, not theatrical. At one point, he stopped a conversation mid-laugh to reposition a couple near a window. "Hold it," he commanded. "Smile, smile bigger, you look stiff, smile like you mean it." The couple obeyed, their laughter turning into performance. The moment died as soon as it became content. People tolerated him because that's what people do at weddings. They believe the photographer has the right to interrupt their reality. I tolerated him because I wasn't hired. I wasn't competing, I was a guest. But then the reception started and the room shifted. The speeches began. The drinking loosened people. The dance floor warmed. Realness started to leak out of the performance. And my hands, without thinking, reached for my camera. I didn't plan to photograph. I really didn't. But documentary work doesn't turn off just because someone told you to relax. It's a muscle. It's a reflex. I stayed out of Derek's way. I didn't pose anyone. I didn't ask. I didn't direct. I just watched. A flower girl curled up against her grandmother, eyelids heavy, fingers still clutching a ribbon. A bridesmaid standing alone near the back, blinking fast like she didn't want anyone to see her crying. Jessica's father pausing for half a second before walking her to the center of the dance floor, as if he suddenly felt the weight of letting go. And Jessica, for one moment, when she thought no one was watching, pressed her forehead against her husband's and closed her eyes like she was trying to store the feeling. I captured those moments quietly. I didn't take thousands of shots. I took a few hundred, enough to tell the story beneath the performance. Later, Derek swept in with his ring light, pulling couples aside and ordering them into staged romance. He made people repeat smiles until they became empty. I watched him do it and felt something settle in my stomach. Not superiority, not contempt, something closer to dread, because I had seen it before. Confidence without discipline, style without backups, a business built on appearances. At the end of the night, Jessica hugged me again. "Did you have fun?" she asked. "I did," I said. It wasn't entirely a lie. She leaned in and said lightly, "I'm glad you didn't try to work today." I froze for half a second, then relaxed my face. I was just being a guest. She smiled, pleased, and walked away. 3 weeks later, my phone started ringing before sunrise. It was a voicemail, then another, then another. Jessica's voice shifted from panic to desperation to rage in the span of hours. The first message was breathless. "Vivian, call me. Please call me right now. It's an emergency." The second was louder. "The photos, Derek, his hard drive crashed. He lost everything. Everything. He didn't back up. He didn't back up." The third message was where her voice cracked. "I have nothing. I have no photos. My mother is devastated. His family is asking. People are texting me. I'm being asked for pictures and I have nothing. Vivian, you had your camera. I saw you. Please tell me you have something." Something. Not your work, not your photographs, not "I'm sorry I dismissed you," just something. I sat on my couch and listened to the messages in silence. My coffee cooled untouched on the table. I replayed the first voicemail twice. Then I did something that surprised even me. I didn't call back. Not because I wanted to punish her. I told myself that at first, and part of me believed it, but deeper than punishment was something else. I didn't call back because I knew how the conversation would go. I could hear it in her tone already. She wasn't reaching out as a friend. She was reaching out because she needed a solution. And she assumed I would provide it, the same way I always had. Quietly, quickly, without being properly acknowledged. The next day, her messages became more manipulative. "We've been friends forever. You're the only person who can fix this. I know you're upset about brunch, but this is bigger than that. This is my wedding. Please don't do this to me. Don't do this to me." As if I had crashed the hard drive. As if I had chosen the photographer. As if my silence was the catastrophe. That phrase was the first spark of real anger. It flared hot and sharp. I didn't respond. On the third day, mutual friends started texting. "Hey, Jess is really upset. Can you help her out? She said you're holding photos hostage." "Are you okay? What happened?" Holding photos hostage. That was the story she was already shaping. She was helpless, I was cruel, and the truth was inconvenient. I didn't answer them either. I spent that night opening the folder of images from the wedding, not because I wanted to savor her loss, because I needed to know exactly what I had. The photographs were honest, quiet, emotional, the kind of work that doesn't scream wedding, but screams life. They were the images people usually cry over years later, the ones that make you feel like you're back in the room. And as I scrolled, I felt the strangest combination of pride and grief. Pride because the work was strong. Grief because the only reason it mattered now was because someone else had failed. The next morning, I received an email from an editor. She introduced herself as Alina Hartwell, senior editor at a prominent bridal publication. She said they were preparing a feature on wedding photography disasters, and Derek's post about the hard drive crash had spread online. In the comment section, people were discussing a professional photographer friend who had been at the wedding as a guest and dismissed as a hobbyist. They had found my website. They wanted to speak. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the email for a full minute. Then I replied, Elena called that afternoon. Her voice was calm, professional, practiced. "We've seen your documentary work," she said. "It's exceptional. There's a story here that goes beyond a hard drive failure. It's about assumptions, about price, about what people think professionalism looks like." I said nothing. I listened. "We'd like to license a selection of your images for the feature," she continued. "We can pay standard editorial rates, plus an additional bonus for exclusivity. We'll also want your perspective as the photographer who captured the only surviving record." Only surviving record? I looked at my phone. Jessica had called 9 times that day. I let it ring each time. Elena waited quietly. In that silence, I heard my own thoughts clearly for the first time since brunch. I heard Jessica saying, "Real professional." I heard her saying, "Not someone who just likes it." I heard her joke at the wedding, "No camera business today." I heard her voicemail, "Please tell me you have something." Something. Not "I'm sorry." I took a slow breath. "Send me the terms," I said. Elena didn't sound surprised. "Of course." After the contract arrived, I read it carefully. I negotiated. I insisted on certain language. I made sure my work was properly credited. I made sure the piece didn't include anything false. Elena agreed. When I signed, my hand was steady. A day later, Jessica showed up at my apartment unannounced. I heard the knocking first, sharp and impatient. Then the doorbell pressed too long. I didn't move at first. I stood in the hallway, staring at the door like it might dissolve if I waited. "Vivian," she called through the door. "Open up, I know you're in there." She sounded like she had rehearsed anger in the mirror, the way some people practice emotions so they can perform them effectively. I opened the door. She stormed in without waiting for permission. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was smudged. Her phone was in her hand like evidence. "Are you seriously ignoring me?" she demanded. "Do you have any idea what I've been dealing with?" I didn't answer. She paced like the room was too small for her panic. "My mom is crying. His parents keep asking. People are making jokes online. Derek is blaming everyone but himself. And you're just silent." My heart beat slowly. "You've been silent about my career for years," I said. She stopped. "This isn't about that." "It is," I replied calm. "It's exactly about that." She threw her hands up. "Fine, okay, I was rude. I shouldn't have said hobbyist, but I was stressed. I was planning a wedding. You know how I get, it wasn't personal." Not personal. The classic excuse people use when they want their cruelty to have no consequences. I looked at her. "You said it in front of everyone at brunch," I said. "You meant it." Her face tightened. "I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it like you meant it," I said. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Do you have pictures or not?" There it was, the real question, the only one that mattered to her. "Yes," I said, "I have pictures." Her shoulders dropped in relief. For one second, she looked like the Jessica I remembered, the one who could laugh until she cried, the one who could be soft when she wanted to be. Then she reached out her hand as if it was obvious. "Okay, send them." I didn't move. Her relief turned to confusion. "Vivian." I held her gaze. "No." The word hung between us like smoke. Her face changed, a fast, ugly shift. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no," I repeated. "You don't get to dismiss me as a hobbyist, hire someone you didn't properly vet, lose everything because he didn't do basic backups, then show up here and demand my work like it's yours." Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked stunned, like she couldn't process a world where I didn't automatically comply. "It's my wedding," she said slowly, as if she was explaining something simple to a child. "They're my photographs," I replied. She laughed, sharp and disbelieving. "That's insane." "I am not insane," I said. "I'm just not convenient anymore." Her eyes flashed. "You're punishing me." "No," I said. "I'm letting you experience the consequences of your choices." "Consequences," she hissed. "I made one comment at brunch." "It wasn't one comment," I said. "It was years, it was a pattern." She took a step back, then another, like she needed space for her anger to expand. "You always do this," she snapped. "Do what?" "You sit there and act calm like you're above everything," she said, voice rising. "Like you're some kind of saint. You always want to be the reasonable one, and you want me to be the villain." I felt my pulse spike, but I kept my voice steady. "You made yourself the villain when you decided I wasn't worth respecting." Her face twisted. "So what? You're going to hold my wedding hostage to teach me a lesson?" I leaned against the counter, arms folded. "No," I said. "I'm protecting myself from being used." She stared, breathing hard. "People are going to hate you for this." "I've been underestimated my whole life," I said. "I can survive being disliked." She stepped forward again, eyes gleaming with something desperate. "Okay, fine, name your price. How much do you want? You want money, you want credit, you want me to post about you. I'll do it. Just give me the photos." The irony almost made me laugh. "Now you think I'm a professional," I said quietly. Her jaw clenched. "Vivian." "Now you think my work has value because you need it," I continued. "That's not respect, that's panic." She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked away. I could feel her deciding what to do next. I could see it in the tension around her mouth, the way she shifted her weight. She wasn't used to losing control. Then she said, very quietly, "Are you doing something with them?" I didn't respond. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, you are." I watched the realization spread across her face like poison. "You're going to sell them," she said, voice trembling with rage. "You're actually going to sell my wedding." "Your wedding," I repeated. "My photographs." "You can't do that," she hissed. "I can," I said, and I did. She froze. For a second, the room went silent except for her breathing. Then she exploded. "You're evil," she said, voice shaking. "You're jealous. You've always been jealous. You've been waiting for a chance to make me look stupid." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Jessica," I said, "you made yourself look stupid when you hired a photographer who didn't back up his files." She lunged toward me like she might slap me, but stopped short, fists clenched. "My wedding is ruined," she whispered, voice breaking, "and you're making it worse." "You ruined it when you confused price with competence," I said, "and you tried to ruin me when you called me a hobbyist." Her face crumpled for a half second, then hardened again. "I hate you," she said. I nodded once. "Okay." She stared at me like she expected me to plead. When I didn't, she grabbed her bag and stormed out. The article went live a week later. It was worse than I expected, even though I knew it would be sharp. The headline didn't just describe a mistake. It branded her. It turned her into a story people could mock. The piece covered Derek's failure in detail, explaining backup protocols, the basics every serious photographer follows. It quoted industry professionals about vetting based on portfolio, not price. It emphasized how easily people confuse expensive with safe. And then it showed my images. Quiet, emotional, honest. The contrast was devastating. The article didn't need to explicitly insult Jessica. The facts did it. The internet did the rest. The comments were brutal. People piled on her. People dissected her character, her choices, her entitlement. People wrote paragraphs about karma and consequences. And somewhere in that chaos, my name spread too. My inbox flooded with inquiries. Brides asking for documentary coverage. Editors asking for licensing. Photographers reaching out, telling me they had been dismissed the same way, telling me the story felt personal. Jessica called me 50 times in 2 days. Then she started texting. "You ruined my life. You stole my wedding. You're a monster. Then, if you don't give me the photos, I'll get a lawyer. Then, my cousin is a lawyer. Then, I'll destroy your reputation. Then, please, please just give me a few, I'm begging." The whiplash was almost impressive. Mutual friends began choosing sides, not based on facts, but on discomfort. People always want the conflict to end, and they often blame the person who refuses to smooth it over. One friend called and said, "Can't you just be the bigger person?" I almost laughed. I've been the bigger person for years, I said. That's the problem. Another friend said, she didn't mean it. She meant it enough to say it, I replied, and to live by it. Jessica's mother called next, which was a new level. Her voice was sweet and pleading. Vivian, honey, she said, you know Jessica, she can be intense, but she's suffering. This is her wedding. Could you please send her your pictures, just so she has something? Something again. Always something, never acknowledgement. Mrs. Lane, I said gently, I'm sorry, but this isn't just about pictures. What is it about then? She asked, sounding confused, like she couldn't conceive of dignity as a real thing. It's about respect, I said, and about consequences. She sighed as if I was being childish. You young people and your consequences, she muttered. I ended the call politely and sat on my couch staring at the wall. There were moments late at night when doubt crept in. Not about my legal right, I knew that. Not about the work was mine. The doubt was about the weight of it, about the ugliness, about the way a friendship can rot quietly without you noticing, then collapse all at once. I wondered if I had gone too far. Then I remembered brunch. I remembered how easily she dismissed me. I remembered how she smiled while doing it. I remembered how she had never once asked about my career with genuine interest. How she had kept me in a smaller box because it made her feel comfortable. And the doubt would fade. Weeks passed. My career changed. Not overnight, but quickly enough that it felt surreal. I booked weddings months out. I booked editorial work. I got invitations to speak at small industry events. People who had never heard of me now quoted the article when they introduced me. It was professionally validating. It was also exhausting. Because every success came wrapped in the same story. The bride who dismissed a professional photographer and paid for it. It turned my work into a lesson. It turned my name into a punchline with an edge. And Jessica became, in public, a character. Not a person, not my old friend. A cautionary tale. 6 months later, her message arrived. It wasn't a voicemail this time. It was a long text, sent late at night. I stared at the preview on my phone for a full minute before opening it. She wrote that she had been thinking, that she had been forced, painfully, to see herself clearly, that she had reduced me to an old version of me and never updated it, even when evidence was in front of her, that she had been wrong, not just about photography, but about the way she treated me. She didn't ask for the photos. That was what made my stomach twist. She wrote, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what I did. I read it twice, then I read it again. The apology was real, not perfect, not poetic, but real enough that I could feel the honesty in it. I didn't respond immediately. Because an apology doesn't rebuild everything. It doesn't erase years. But it does something else. It creates a choice. And for the first time in our friendship, I wasn't reacting to her. I wasn't fixing her. I wasn't shrinking to keep things smooth. I was choosing. I still haven't decided what to do with her message. Some bridges burn completely. Some leave enough foundation to start over in a different shape. But whatever happens next, it will not be based on obligation, not on history, not on guilt. It will be based on respect. That's the real difference between being familiar and being valued. Familiarity is what people use when they want access to you without earning it. Respect is what people offer when they finally see you as real. Jessica learned the difference between price and competence. I learned the difference between friendship and convenience. Some lessons cost money, others cost memories, some cost reputations. And some cost the version of yourself that used to accept too little just to keep someone close. The photographs are still on my hard drive. The moments are still preserved. A child asleep, a mother's trembling hand, a quiet glance between two people before the room demanded they perform again. The truth of that day exists. It didn't vanish with Derek's failure. But the story behind it, the story that followed, the story people love to retell, is not about a hard drive. It's about a person who decided what I was, and then panicked when reality proved her wrong. And it's about me, finally understanding something I should have understood years ago. You don't owe your best work to someone who refuses to see you clearly.